everybody. Thank you so much for joining me for today's World of Weather. Today, we are talking about wildfires. We're going to talk about what they are, and we're going to talk about what causes them and what type of weather makes us most susceptible to seeing wildfires. So we do see them in Georgia. There's a couple environmental factors and weather factors that really contribute to those wildfires. So as always, please ask any questions. I'm actually opening you up right now on Facebook so that I can follow you along. And if you do have any questions, I can read them right here. So please feel free to ask questions as we go along. Again, today's topic is wildfires. So I'm watching, looks like people are starting to join in. Hey, everybody. It's chilly today, isn't it? Have you gone outside yet? If you have, it's chilly, it's windy, and temperatures are really struggling, still in the 50s outside. So the winds we have today are actually one of the things we look for when we look at fire danger. There's certain days where there's actual fire danger statements out, and the winds is a big part of it. On a windy day, it's much easier for a fire to start and a fire to spread. So forest fires, wildfires, you do not want windy conditions, because when it's windy, it carries those flames very, very easily and very, very quickly. So winds, we do not like those when we have forest fires or wildfires. The other thing is low humidity, very dry air. That helps forest fires as well. So windy conditions, low humidity. Another thing is dry brush. We're lucky that we got rain yesterday. So if you go outside, the grass, the leaves, especially the dry bark and when you're walking in a really wooded area, there's lots of little stems on the ground. Those are going to be nice and wet. So that wetness helps prevent forest fires. On the other hand, if we had a dry day where it hasn't rained in a while, where all of that grass and all of that pine straw and all of those limbs are dry, if you have that and low humidity and strong winds, those three things together are the perfect environment for forest fires. So we don't like to see that. So we're going to start today's World of Weather lesson. As always, we flip you around for today's World of Weather, and we are talking about wildfires. First, I want to show you what we're seeing right now, because today we do have windy conditions. These are current wind speeds, and this is not wind gusts, but wind speeds. But as you can see, anywhere between about 5 to 15 mile an hour winds. We do have wind gusts today of 20 to 25 miles an hour. So that is strong. It's not super strong, but it is strong enough that if it was dry with low humidity, certainly we would be worried about forest fires and fires. The dew point is in the 40s, which again is low. We had a cold front move through yesterday, that dew point in the 40s. Once you see that dew point even lower, that is incredibly dry. If we have dew points in the 30s plus windy conditions, plus dry conditions where it hasn't rained in a while, that would really be the prime atmosphere to see forest fires. So wildfires, we're going to talk about what makes them dangerous and what we see. Different days have a different amount of danger. And again, it's because of those things we just talked about: the rain, the low humidity, and the winds. When we have low danger, that's because the humidity is high and the winds are low. But as we start seeing all those things come together, there are times when we would have an extreme wildfire danger. When we are under a high risk of a wildfire, no fireworks are allowed. If you are burning, you need to use extreme caution. Usually campfires are okay. But again, depending on the atmosphere, depending on the winds and the humidity and the lack of rain, that will determine how high our wildfire danger is on a certain day or a certain time of year. Wildfires, they can really happen across the entire U.S. We hear a lot about wildfires in California, but we see them a lot in Florida and in Georgia as well. And some of the biggest factors that cause wildfires are dry vegetation. So when it hasn't rained in a long time and everything is really crispy and dry, that is one of the ingredients you need for wildfires. And then some of the other things we talked about: low humidity and gusty winds. And when you have all three together, that's when you see wildfires form very easily. So in California, when we get those wildfires, or Georgia or Florida, it's usually when we have a dry vegetation, when it hasn't rained in a while. It's when we have low humidity and we have those strong gusty winds. All of those things contribute to wildfires. Now, for a fire, you need a couple things. And if you're a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout, then these are things you may have learned when you're out camping and you need to start a fire. You need a heat source. So you need something to trigger the heat. You need fuel.
Oxygen. You need oxygen. Without oxygen, a wildfire or a fire does not start. So you need a heat source, fuel, and oxygen to start a fire. And one of those sources could even be lightning. Lightning starts wildfires. If someone throws a cigarette, that can start a wildfire. If someone throws anything that is burnt, that could start a fire. And things that will light are anything like brush or prairie grass, even trees, pine straw, dead leaves. All of those things are perfect fuel for fires. Any pieces of wood. So think of everything you see in a forest. The brush, the prairie grass, the trees, all of that stuff will light up if you have a heat source, fuel, and oxygen. A lightning strike can start a fire. And all it does is starts with one little plant. You see that lightning strike just struck that one little plant. And if it was raining or we had high humidity and low winds, it probably wouldn't do much. But if that happened on a dry day with strong gusty winds, that fire would spread very, very quickly. So what could be a small event could turn into a very big event very quickly, especially if you have those winds. And you saw how that one little plant turned into a big forest fire. And then that fire can grow exponentially depending on how windy it is and how dry it is. So during wildfires, especially if you live in an area prone to wildfires, here in the city of Atlanta, we don't really see that much because we're in the city. But if you live in the suburbs, you're a little more prone to these wildfires. If you live in an area with lots of trees and a big forest, you need to prepare to evacuate. You need to listen to emergency channels. You need to know the status of the fire. Usually they'll tell you what percentage of it is contained. If it's 0% contained, that is bad. A lot of times it'll be 95% contained. The more it's contained, the better off it is. That means they are taking care of the fire. They've secured the borders, the edges of the fire, and they're working hard to put it out. You need to put emergency supplies and must-have items in your car so you can evacuate quickly. These are all things you need to think about. Again, if you live in more of a forest area, if you live in the outskirts, if you live away from the city, you've got those trees and those forests and you're more prone to those wildfires. Here in Georgia, we do see wildfires. And again, dry air and wind, those are the environmental factors, or at least the weather factors you will need in order to see wildfires. But you do need something to ignite it. It's not going to ignite by itself. A lot of times they're accidental fires set by people who throw cigarettes or who throw matches. But a lot of time lightning can cause a wildfire. And that happens more times than you would think. If people are camping and they start a campfire and it's a windy day and they don't have a hose nearby, that can go out of control very quickly. So cigarettes and campfires, those are big problems in Georgia. And even controlled burns. And a controlled burn is someone who is burning something on purpose, maybe in their backyard, and they think they have it under control. But what happens is if it's very windy or very dry, or maybe they go inside for a short period of time, that controlled burn can get out of control quickly if they are not safe and if they did not take the weather into account. For example, strong winds could really affect a controlled burn. This is what a wildfire looks like in Georgia. This is actually from a satellite, and the satellite can detect wildfires, especially on a very dry day. And all that white looks like clouds, but that is actually smoke from the North Georgia mountains when we have had wildfires in the past. There are wildfire seasons. And it's again when we have that the dry conditions, the low humidity, and the strong gusty wind. So those are all things, even as meteorologists, we look at those factors and we look at the wildfire danger throughout the year to let you know if it's safe to do a burn, because a lot of times the weather is so ripe for these fires to happen, and they happen so quickly and so easily that they actually do a burn ban, and they ban people from burning objects in their yards, even controlled burns, or they ban campfires or even fire pits. Those are banned because it's so dangerous to do it depending on what's happening with the weather. So that is all about wildfires in Georgia. I am going to screen here and see what kind of questions you have. Hi, Butch. Thanks for watching. Hi, Ralph. Thanks for watching World of Weather. Adam, you're here from Douglasville. We have Juan. Wesley, you're in Ackworth. Hi, Wesley. Charlie, hi, Charlie. Edward, you're in Canada, Edward. You're probably our furthest visitor. We have Juan. Yep, weekend warming coming up. Adam, does feel really nice. Juan, yep, Smokey the Bear. I actually have
sweatpants that have a big Smokey the Bear on them, but I'm not wearing them right now. Let's see. Adam, Wesley. Yeah, Wesley, exactly. Those are all really good things. So sounds like you guys don't have any questions. Let me see what tomorrow's topic is here. Tomorrow's topic is fog. My kids are always fascinated by the fog. So this is one you'll want to watch. Tomorrow at 1:15, we're talking about fog. For today, only about a 10% chance of a shower in the North Georgia mountains. It is still pretty cloudy out there. We'll see decreasing clouds. It is windy. By the weekend, no rain this weekend. So start making your weekend plans. It will be dry. It will be warm. 80 degrees on Saturday, 85 on Sunday. So it's going to feel pretty amazing this weekend. Next week, we do have that rain back in the forecast. So make sure you join us starting at 4. We'll have that weekend forecast. And as always, I'll see you tomorrow right here at 1:15 for the World of Weather. We'll be talking about fog. Everybody stay safe and have a great day.